Hello and welcome to the Kongversation. I'm Hyle Russell.
I'm Chad McCanna.
You know, sometimes I hear the Ape Raper announce his proclamation of the week, and it just kicks me off guard.
Yeah.
Anyway, I hope you've been having a nice holiday season, Chad.
Oh, it's been dark out.
Dark?
Yeah. No, yeah.
Is this a Star Wars spoiler? Are they doing something to the sun?
Yeah, they killed everyone. The dark side won. Episodes 8 and 9 are just going to be a lot of brooding.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, that everybody likes the dark entries, right? And that's why they like The Empire Strikes Back, because it was dark.
Is that why? Not because it was very well written, directed, and acted?
Nope.
It was dark.
That's also why Revenge of the Sith is the best prequel, because he kills kids.
Yeah. Let that be a lesson to all you young Zack Snyders in the audience.
It's why Superman versus Batman, Roe v. Wade, is the most anticipated movie of March 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway,
I'm pulling for Wade.
Anyway, yes, it is Christmas week. We're a week or so removed from Hanukkah as well. Kwanzaa's happening, as is Boxing Day.
Well, Boxing Day is on the 26th.
Yeah, and this episode is going up to the masses on the 26th. So.
As is Boxing Day.
Yep. So, anyway, it's going to be a little bit of a looser episode this week because we're full of nog, or whatever you drink at the holidays.
I've had half a caffeine pill.
Half a caffeine pill? Well, you are a slacker because I've had 7.
You're going, oh, wow. Okay, I was just going to expect the full complement of a single unit of caffeine pill, but that's like E3 levels for you.
Yeah,
you were basically taking them by the handful at E3.
Yeah, Chad, at one point, like legitimately turned to me and said, you need to like spit those out.
Yeah.
And I said, nope.
That's a lethal dose.
For the normal human.
Yeah,
but,
I don't think Adam Park is interested in meeting Jesse Spano.
Oh, well, you know, to be fair, Elizabeth Berkley did have the second best career out of all Saved by the Bell ladyfolk.
Okay. I was wondering where it was going to go, considering.
No, this has got to be...
You kept it clean. It's a Christmas episode.
This has got to be a Christmas episode and a family-friendly episode, considering we're talking about a game for toddlers this week.
That's true, yes. The game which is on everybody's lips the last few weeks, of course, Goldilocks and Little Bear.
Absolutely. The game of the holiday season, at least for DK Fine. And actually, Nosy Crow knows we're doing this episode, too, because they liked my post on Facebook.
They liked my tweet. Ed Bryan himself, and I don't know if the company itself did as well, but... honestly, we'll get into it in a bit. Do you want to take some listener calls, clear out the queue before we really dive in?
Clear out the queue. Now, is this the Star Trek queue or the James Bond queue?
There's a queue in Star Trek? Oh, queue. I'm sorry. I was thinking Star Wars. I've been thinking Yes, I don't...
Spoilers, yes. Star Trek's Q is in a new Star Wars movie. He's actually Kylo Ren. Makes no sense.
I saw it, and I'm not sure if I get... Is that a joke that I should know?
No, I'm just saying shit.
See, I can't tell anymore. Kylo Ren just is a lot of gobbledygook, and so I don't know if there's a deeper meaning there.
Kylo Ren is a great character, though. I thought he was a great character.
Oh, that was the guy
spoilers.
from Girls, right?
Well, that's a spoiler. Come on,
That's not a spoiler. Casting.
Yeah, I know, but apparently it was a spoiler for the rest of the internet who had no idea that's who Adam Driver is playing, so they're coming up with all sorts of crazy theories about Kylo Ren.
What is the... I'm really having a hard time with the Star Wars obsessive fan base. I really am.
Really?
No, it's not like it's impinging on me in any way. I just feel like there's so much tiptoeing that needs to be done, and I don't know where the tiptoeing needs to be done in what degrees. And I want to honor everyone's desire to see it in whatever level of spoilerness you would want. But casting? Really?
Yeah,
that's a thing?
I know. That really shouldn't be a spoiler. It was confirmed back in, like, May he was playing Kylo Ren. So
okay.
I think we're in a clear there. But yeah, we won't be getting into spoilers. Suffice to say, I loved it.
Honestly, we shouldn't even really be getting into Star Wars, much less spoilers about Star Wars.
I know, but I loved it. It was great. It was it was the movie I wanted it to be. And I'll say no more unless you provoke me.
No. Should I give my assessment now?
Yes, people care about what Chad McCanna thinks about the Star War.
Yes, I did absorb a Star War last night. I was expecting to just take it in when I was back in Texas over the holidays, but yeah, it was precipitated by the Red Letter Media video on it, and we wanted to see that, so of course we needed to see the movie.
Right.
It really wasn't about seeing the movie itself. But yeah, I thought it was.
You're not as big of a Star Wars fan as I am.
No.
You're more of a Trekkie.
I like Star Wars, but I'm not like a super fan. You know, it's not midnight movie fodder for me.
I was a super fan, and the prequels turned me away for about a decade and some change. So I think I'm a super fan again. So
fair enough. So anyway, I thought it was. I'm trying to not spoil things because I don't know the degrees again. Well acted, great characters. Harrison Ford was alive and well.
Compared to his most recent roles, where he was basically, I don't know, on methadone.
Yeah. He was either coming on. He was either in need of or deep in the therapy of methadone. Yeah.
Yes.
No. I think my chief criticism is that I feel like it's a plot that I've already seen. And I understand that the objectives of this movie were more character based rather than plot based, but
yes.
Considering the massive scale of production and writing and all the hundreds of millions of dollars that have been thrown at this thing, you would have thought at some point in that money train they could have bought themselves an interesting plot to serve as the background for the character piece. That's my only quibble.
Okay,
but it was good, and I know that people don't look to Star Wars for, you know, intellectually stimulating plot, or at least the masses that they're trying to bilk out of their dollars don't go to it, right?
You really.
They don't though, do they? Come on,
praise.
Come on. I feel like I'm not. That's not an insult. The Star Wars as a series can function as a puff piece, and that's okay.
Calling it a puff piece is doing it a disservice, though. It's
a big action blockbuster. That's the puff pieces of the cinema.
It's always been a romp with some philosophical underpinnings to it.
Right. No, and that's fine. I'm just saying, like, while it's a romp, I would have liked to have seen some original elements. It felt like they were just taking things from past Star Wars movies that worked, putting them in a blender, and yeah, it's like poetry. It rhymes.
Rhyming.
No, and then they're kind of, and they had a waffle maker in the shape of the Death Star, and they were ladling that slurry of past movie characters and plot points into that waffle, put down the lid, and what popped out was literally a Death Star shaped new Star Wars movie that kind of tasted and felt exactly the same.
Now, Chad, you're being ridiculous because there is no Death Star waffle maker. There is, however, a Darth Vader waffle maker and a toaster, both available right now in stores.
I've seen the Death Star waffle maker. That's a thing.
Oh, is it a thing? Okay, so
yeah.
Maybe there's two different kinds of Star Wars waffle makers out now. Because of course there is.
Yeah.
But
anyway, it was.
Yeah. Here's my thing, though. It was, without spoiling the plot, it was very much the Donkey Kong Country Returns of Star Wars. And you know what? For as much criticism that's leveled at Donkey Kong Country Returns in light of Tropical Freeze, you need a Donkey Kong Country Returns to wash away the jungle beats and the congas. And even the Donkey Kong 64s at some point. You know, you need that to kind of take everything back to the basics and build from there rather than building on all this crap that nobody really wanted in the first place.
Sure, but I think that's not quite as sound an analogy because in a video game, there's so much more to the experience than just the story. But, you know, because you actually get to play it. So if it's a great game with the same plot, it's easier to forgive.
Yeah, but also that's what the new characters here, and I would argue that what happened with the characters in this movie was quite different from any other Star Wars.
They're all good characters. Oh, I would disagree. I would say that I can't even say their names probably. Several of the central characters follow literally the exact same path as several of the characters from A New Hope.
There's going to be thematic similarities, sure, but that's because that's all they always go on it's the classic hero's journey, the Joseph Campbell.
This is a little bit closer than just a literary myth. It's
okay, but
yeah.
at the same point, they couldn't make the plot about the taxation of trade routes. So
no, that's fine too. Just something fun and new.
My only criticism is I would have liked to have learned more about the politics of this galaxy now, and I think they avoided all of that because of the prequels, and I think they could have made that interesting.
Yeah, I had the same I guess curiosity. Because they don't discuss it at all. I would have been satisfied with like a throwaway line. But
and they were there, you just had to be read them quick because they flew by the screen. And luckily I got the official Star Wars The Force Awakens visual dictionary, and it's explained
Is that a thing?
Yes.
Well, I guess if a Darth Vader waffle iron is, then this should be too.
So I actually know I know about the state of the galaxy now, so that itch has been scratched. But again, that's for another podcast that we don't host.
So what were we talking about before we said how we don't want to talk about Star Wars this week?
Star Wars, it gobbles up everything for the next month in any pop culture discussion. Yeah. We had to pay our lip service to it, and we're done. We've appeased the Force gods. George Lucas, he's got a new beard hair because of us, so we can move on now.
I did like how Miles from Lost was there in case there were any Force ghosts that he needed to communicate with.
Spoilers, man.
That's casting again. Spoiler alert, the Asian guy from Lost is in Star Wars. Come on, that's not...
The pilot from Lost is also in Star Wars.
No way, really?
Yeah, he played...
Yes. In my mind, he's the cop from... that one that just came back, Heroes. But I hadn't... Yeah, it's been so long since I've seen the pilot.
the pilot from the pilot was in Star Wars.
Yeah. Wow, yeah, they must have... Wait, I was going to say they must have shared a casting director, but J.J. Abrams. Okay.
Yes. No, that's
right.
Basically it. All right.
So let's stop talking about Star Wars, for the love of God.
That's right. And let's talk about Lost. We could actually do a killer Lost podcast. I'm just saying.
It's been done. Let's take a call.
All right, let's.
Hey guys, it's it's Malik, and you probably know why I'm calling, because of the Smash Brothers final presentation that occurred as of this call like 10 minutes ago. Well, I think Bayonetta is cool and everything like that. I love Bayonetta. She's a great character. But, between the character reveal at the beginning of the video and everything else in between, I think it's safe to say that our assumptions with Sakurai were right. He likes Fire Emblem. I don't think he cares about DK at all. But at this rate, I don't think there's a point to argue about it anymore because we've argued about it ad nauseum. But let's just say we tried our best. That's all we can really do. But let it be known, Sakurai bias is very much present. The dream is dead. There is no Santa Claus. There is only despair. Bye.
Okay. The gauntlet has been thrown, so the next time Mamechi calls in, he has to impersonate Malik.
Oh, Mamechi. Yeah, I would love to see this followed by the signature Mamechi out.
I fought for this call because one, it sums up my opinion on what happened last week as far as the Smash Direct reveals. Mm-hmm. To the point where I don't have to even comment on it. And I know you feel the same way, Chad.
Yeah.
Blissfully, it was not the outcome I wanted. It's the outcome I expected. But from here on out, we never have to talk about Super Smash Bros. 4 ever again. it is done. It is in the grave. Let's put this whole experience behind us for the love of God.
We can finally set our sights on Super Smash Bros. 5. No, Super Smash Bros. V. The V is for 5. No, what was it? Super Smash Bros. Vistacuffs. The V is for 5, like in Roman numerals.
Yes. So, and I'm sure that's going to get announced at E3. But a lot of people expected we'd be talking about this week. Nope.
Yeah, no. It's frankly so generous of the good people at Nosy Crow to have released their app around the same time as this last Smash Brothers presentation. I'm sure that was intentional on their part.
Absolutely. No,
because it gives us something.
They released it my birthday weekend, so and your lovely wife Janelle's birthday weekend. So I assume, and Alistair Craig's birthday weekend. I assumed it was a birthday gift to half the DK Vine family.
It gives us something that's actually quite endearing to talk about. Let's finish our calls though, and then we'll start discussing the first toddler oriented game in the Donkey Kong universe.
Oh yeah.
Hey guys, ACZ. Just want to call in asking you guys how the playthrough of Goldilocks and the Little Bears are and what your impressions are.
Yeah.
Also, another thing to say is, are there any other sort of references to DKU or just fun little touches throughout the game besides Royston Jr. over there? Anyway, that's about it. Happy holidays. See you next week. Bye.
Well, thank you, ACZ.
Well, ACZ, if we answer your question right now, then that's the whole episode. So... yeah, we don't host for us, man, in your call.
Yeah, you're kind of it's when we announce the subject matter of the show, don't just call in and ask us to talk about that thing.
Because granted, we can make the episode 5 minutes then, but we like to take the long way around.
No, he did actually have a question though about the any rare references, and we'll get to some of those because there are a few.
Yes, and by the way, this isn't Royston Jr. in this game. This is Royston, the definite article.
That's right. That's right, Hyle. As close as they can get to making it Royston without getting in legal hot water, which is all we need.
We know a couple people from Rare like to listen to the show on occasion, so we just like to say, of course it's not Royston.
Mm-hmm. Their entire legal team are big fans.
Before we get into Goldilocks, though, and explain what the heck that is, we do have a correction to issue from before our Donkey Kong Country 2 Spotlight episode.
Oh, yes. I have to make an apology on this one. I'm on some episode previously. There was we were discussing Star Fox Zero, and I really feel shitty about this. I made a joke about the title being imaginary if Star Fox Zero were divided by itself. And, of course, it was pointed out by YouTube user K. Samaner that that's not how you get imaginary numbers. What I was describing was undefined. The joke that I should have made is that Star Fox showing up in November would have been as if it would have had to have been called Star Fox -1 and then had its root taken. So the joke wouldn't have worked. It would have been too clunky, and I just feel awful about it.
And because of that, you're going to be suspended from DK Vine for 6 weeks without pay until you learn your lesson.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, without pay. Yeah.
I don't care, man. 6 weeks to be a slug? Hell yeah.
There are immigrants who want to come into this country who would kill for your job, Chad, but Donald Trump
this
won't
isn't
let
a job. Wow, they would have severely misguided expectations if they suddenly landed in this thing.
Poor peasant farmers would love to talk about Goldilocks and Little Bear.
Well, shall we?
Well, I think we're not going to find a better opportunity. So Okay, so basically, let's explain what Nosy Crow is, first of all. Let's explain what they do, and let's explain what led up to this point, because this is kind of confusing for the layman, and I'm not really sure if I understand it myself, even though I'm rolling with it. So,
well, okay, so I sort of... Since the annexation of Goldilocks and Little Bear into the Donkey Kong universe happened in Twitter, I was kind of there as it happened. So I am curious to hear what your mental chain of events is.
Yeah, because I was kind of off the grid that weekend, just doing rudimentary DK Vine stuff here and there, like the Facebook page. But it was my birthday weekend, so I was off doing things and wasn't really keeping my nose to the grindstone, and this kind of came out of nowhere. What's that?
Slacker.
Yeah, right. So this kind of came out of nowhere, and it was kind of something I had to follow, like through various like bathroom breaks and
well, let's.
car
I think
rides.
we should do a bit of stage setting because
That's what I just said. I just said.
Well, no.
Stage.
I'm contextual stage setting because previously in the year,
Yes.
I've kind of gotten a wild hair about
a wild Rodney.
I've got a wild Rodney about following the Donkey Kong universe in the weirdest directions that I can possibly find, and sometimes even testing the limits of the definition of what we call the Donkey Kong universe to accommodate that.
Yes, I have labeled you. Well, you labeled yourself, but I ran with it. You've labeled yourself a continuity anarchist.
I like the term can anarchist.
Okay, well, nobody else does. So, in your head canon, that can be what we call you. But
look, I do not apologize for loving the beautiful portmanteau.
I like a good portmanteau as well, but Jesus Christ. There's nothing good about that one. So, yeah, if you're new to the show, if you're new to the Kongversation, what an episode to start with. But I would recommend going back earlier in the year to the September 26th episode, the Donkey Kong Universe Canonization Battles of 2015, which kind of touched upon this very subject. And it's... earlier this year, there were numerous instances that kind of cropped up that made us really question what is canon as far as the Donkey Kong universe goes. Because already the Donkey Kong universe is kind of split between Rare and Nintendo.
And mind you, this is the way that DK Vine defines the canon of the Donkey Kong universe. This does not necessarily have to be every listener out there's idea of this shared universe of games. In fact, there are even divisions within the DK Vine staff as to, you know, certain elements of these games, not necessarily which games themselves are, but it's all constructed on a series of character connection based rules, kind of in the spirit of 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon
or TGI sitcoms of the 1990s, which, by the way, the Fuller House trailer looks amazing.
Oh, that's a thing that's out.
Oh yeah, the Fuller House trailer. Check it out. It's on YouTube.
I'm good. Maybe at some point.
By the way, when I said it looked amazing, that might be hyperbole. Just a smidge.
Sure. As long as Kimmy Gibbler's ostrich is back, I'll be okay.
Well, Kimmy Gibbler is back, so I assume it's gonna be like the children of the ostrich.
They're a package deal.
It's in her contract.
Yo, you're not gonna get Kimmy Gibbler unless the ostrich gets to wet his beak.
We're actually gonna find out Uncle Jesse divorced Aunt Becky and married the ostrich.
So anyway,
their love is only accepted in San Francisco.
I think that it got. This whole canon anarchy got to its weirdest point when frequent forumer MF Wolf.
He's gonna love that we're calling him out for this.
Yeah, so he started asking because he noticed that there's an anthropomorphic rooster character called the Airship Enthusiast in Shovel Knight. So he went and asked Yacht Club Games on Twitter whether or not that's Drumstick from Diddy Kong Racing. And they loved the idea, and then basically we took that to Rare. Rare had no comment, but
thank God,
which was probably wise.
But here I am. I am like at work when this is happening, and I'm like just trying to scramble to keep the very integrity of the Donkey Kong universe in check.
I was relishing every delicious tweet.
You were. So I am, as far as these matters go, very conservative, and you are the bra-burning liberal when it comes to continuity, because basically we follow what the Donkey Kong universe is it starts at Donkey Kong Country, 1994's Donkey Kong Country. That's kind of ground zero, and everything builds from there. So, Diddy Kong Racing introduced Banjo and Conquer, ergo we cover Banjo and Conquer games. Sometimes, it crosses over with the Mario series, but those don't count because they're merely crossovers and not born from the parent series. And
that's the Waluigi clause, and we shan't get into it right now.
The Waluigi clause, by the way, the worst Tim Allen movie I've ever seen.
Why am I suddenly compared to El Purple?
I can't believe they made 9 of those.
So, Banjo, of course, spun into his own series from Diddy Kong Racing. So there's that connection.
Yes.
So did Conquer. So did Tricky the Triceratops.
Well, Dinosaur Planet, that's a whole other can of worms. Let's not even get into Dinosaur Planet. You're scaring the straights, Chad. You're scaring the straights.
Fair enough. Anyway, forget I said anything about dinosaurs of any sort. Anyway, Banjo the Bear in Banjo-Kazooie, who is now a Donkey Kong character by his Diddy Kong Racing connection, has a pet goldfish named Royston. And,
that's right. And
because the same team that made Banjo went on to make many other games at Rare, Royston the goldfish, as a sort of wink-wink sort of nod to the fans, would show up continually. And because, and this is after the fact, because DK Vine was established as caring about character connections, we're following all of these games, all the adventures and trials and tribulations of Royston the Goldfish.
That's right. Royston, it's first happened in Grabbed by the Ghoulies. He appeared in the schoolroom, later appeared in Viva Pinata, and Connect Sports Season 2.
Yeah.
So, Royston gets around, and of course he always returns home eventually to the Banjo series. And Royston is very much like Kenny from South Park. I'm going to throw a South Park reference in there for you, Chad. Throw you a bone.
Because Kenny dying in every episode is certainly relevant.
Well, no. Royston has calamity befall him in many games. Should kill him. He always winds up, not only winds up just fine, but always winds up back to square one. It's the Force Awakens. Basically, he always resets the stage to get back to his roots and goes back into Banjo's bowl in his house. So
that was almost as tortured a metaphor as Royston is on a routine basis.
Thank you.
Yeah. But yeah, he's tragedy prone, but I think that Royston's the key to it all. He's he's some kind of immortal. I think Royston is a god among mortals in this series.
It's going to turn out that Royston actually is a god tier above Log, and the grand finale of the Donkey Kong universe is Royston enacts his revenge against everybody who has done harm to him.
Yeah, and then he turns into a like a fish fetus floating in space, and that's the end of the DKU.
Yes.
No, and just a yes.
No. I really. What can you do with a 2001 reference that hasn't already been done? Really.
All right. So, we've always been looking for Royston to show up in one of these games, and
in rare games.
We've been looking in any game, but we would always need it to be as close to an explicit confirmation that it's Royston as humanly possible. Of course, there's the hiccup that anyone who doesn't work at Rare could potentially get in legal hot water that would probably never be acted upon, because Royston is technically the intellectual property of Microsoft.
Technically, although I'm sure they have no idea. But I'm sure they don't have like a team of lawyers like renewing the Royston trademark.
They do now. They're big fans.
But earlier this year, when Yooka-Laylee was announced, then known as Project Yooka-Laylee, it's really clever how they hid that in plain sight. By Playtonic Games, of course, we started a half-hearted campaign to get Royston in Yooka-Laylee before we realized that they were promising one of the DK rappers was going to return, therefore granting it Donkey Kong Universe canonization.
I love how you've completely come around on that. That's amazing.
No. I just need time to marinate the idea.
Yeah.
I don't do things brash because he's not the best Brothers Bear.
No. Not at all. Not even close.
No. But so we were trying to get Royston in Yooka-Laylee, but of course there was the argument, well, Playtonic is not Rare. They might be made up and comprised of ex-Rare staffers, but what grants them the right to use Royston? Would that really even be Royston, even if they can't say if it is Royston? So there is that argument to be had, which we went over in the episode 339, the Donkey Kong Universe canonization battles of 2015. Ultimately, my argument was Playtonic is a spiritual team of Rare employees. They're just off campus and independent. Right. You said, well, that's not fair. What about Nosy Crow, which is the company that Ed Bryan and his brother started, I believe?
I don't know if they started it.
Okay.
But they are, I'm not sure the exact structure of Nosy Crow, because they're like a children's book and app publisher, because they do some print books, and I believe some of Ed Bryan's artwork has been in print. Like they have done print books themselves, but they also do apps, and their Twitter handle is Nosy Crow Apps. So I'm thinking that they may be very instrumental to. They may be the only ones on the app side of things,
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, but I think it might be a little bigger, or that could be completely wrong, and it's their company.
By the way, Ed Bryan of the Banjo-Kazooie team.
Yes, and Will Bryan
we know these references, but I'm sure to the layman gamer out there, they don't know many names of the Banjo-Kazooie team besides like Grant Kirkhope, who's made a name for himself in recent years, just being on the internet.
Right. So Ed Bryan, he's the artist. You can kind of see shades of like some of the original banjo work in this, even though it's a distinctly different style, very kind of cut out. There are certain little stylistic elements in the way that he draws characters that you can sort of see crossover. But his brother Will Bryan is the programmer of the two. In this game, there was yet another Rare connection in that Steve Burke, who was the musician of Cameo, I believe he also worked on Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. He did the music for this title.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
So it's in the DNA. I mean, it just as much as a Playtonic game. And okay, basically, Ed Bryan was kind of baiting Banjo fans earlier this year with the release of Jack and the Beanstalk, I believe, which is an earlier app storybook they released. And
they are cranking these things out, by the way, at like they're going faster than SNES production cycles. It's impressive.
Yeah. It's nice to see things don't get bogged down. Like, it's not a 3-year process to release these, millions of dollars spent, delay after delay. It's nice to see some efficiency in the video game industry, damn it. But yeah, he was kind of baiting Banjo-Kazooie fans, and this is what actually sparked one of the canonization battles earlier this year, because he the character of Bovina from Banjo-Tooie.
Classic character,
beloved character. Many the sea shanty has been written about Bovina by lonely sailors. But trying to keep it clean for the audience that might be listening in.
I can tell you're struggling, and I appreciate it.
It's this Christmas nightmare.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have drank all that nog. No, but he was baiting Banjo-Kazooie fans, basically as a way of saying, hey, Banjo fans, check out what I'm doing now. And he was saying this cow in the Jack and the Beanstalk app, which, of course, there's a cow, infamously, in the story of Jack and the Beanstalk.
But her name is, she has a name. Is she called Daisy in the game?
Daisy, yes. So he was saying Daisy was actually Bovina in another role. And looks nothing like Bovina, by the way. And so people on the DK Vine forum, enthusiastically, I might add, were trying to argue that this is word of God. This is Bovina in Jack and the Beanstalk.
This is my cow coming home to roost, I'm afraid.
Yeah. So I believe Rock, I want to call Rock out. I believe he was very, very vigorously on our case about this for many months. Because this is what happens on the DK Vine forum. Never been a better time to join.
That's right. DKVine.com/forum/interactive.
If you don't have a family to go home to this holiday season, come home to the DK Vine forum. You'll be glad you did. And anyway, so my argument was Ed Bryan is just being cheeky on Twitter. This is not in any way Bovina. And for one, like, Rare owns Bovina. Ed Bryan can't just say, oh, Bovina's owned by the classic fairy tale character Jack now.
Yeah. And he was probably, if there was any legal challenge,
and her name is Daisy.
Yeah. If there was someone trying to claim that he's using a character he doesn't have ownership to, he could, of course, cited Psych precedent.
Psych precedent?
Yeah. Psych. Like, he was just a joke. You know, he could basically say, it was a complete piss take, no big deal. But
I thought there was an episode of the classic USA detective comedy show Psych that
the Dule Hill comedy thriller.
Yes, that set a precedent for this kind of legal scenario.
No, not as such. Okay. I was just using outdated 90s vernacular.
Oh, gotcha. I was just using outdated 2000s TV references. So that's why we make a good team, Chad.
Yeah.
So my argument was, no, come on. Twitter joking does not equal DKU canonization, especially in this era we live in when fans can interact with creators on Twitter with great ease, where our own Chad McCanna, who runs the DK Vine Twitter account, can
a loser
poke and prod and basically upend the apple cart of the DKU quite easily.
Yeah.
We've got to be careful in situations like this. And I said this did not justify it.
I agree, though. I agree in this situation. I feel like I'm not trying to upend the apple cart. I'm just, I don't know how to continue that metaphor. I'm just basically looking for I want to explore all avenues. I'm curious how many weird things we can make connections with in the Donkey Kong universe and still adhere to the rules that have been established. I'm not trying to put those aside. I'm like going out of my way to find interesting interpretations of the Donkey Kong universe to really let it spread its tendrils in a weird way.
I'm more about letting that happen naturally without creating it.
I'm a natural process.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Look, we're in agreement. We're in total agreement about ukulele, about Jack and the Beanstalk, and about this. So it's not like we're arguing about anything. It's just how we come about things are quite different.
If it wasn't me, it would be MF Wolf, and if it wasn't MF Wolf, it would be Rock. And I mean, you know,
I'm sure Saf would have a say in there as well.
Right. I mean, it's not like in the absence of me, there will be no voices trying to poke holes in the carefully constructed Donkey Kong universe.
Right, but the thing is, you're my partner in crime, so yeah.
See, I'm just lending it legitimacy. Isn't that a good thing?
There's also a goldfish character in Jack and the Beanstalk, and Ed Bryan referred to him on Twitter as Royston Jr., which you might be thinking, well, there you go. That's your connection right there. Royston had a son, and he's in Jack and the Beanstalk. No. Because Royston Jr. never appeared in a Banjo game.
That's true. Although now we do know that while Jack in the Box is not retroactively Donkey Kong universe, Jack in the Beanstalk. I haven't had dinner yet.
Why would you eat a clown in a box, Chad? The fast food.
They don't even have those here. They
don't have those on the East Coast. Yeah, they don't have those on the East Coast,
I haven't
Chad.
seen a Jack in the Box in 2 years.
And also, Carl's Jr. is called Hardee's out here, so...
That's bizarre, too. All the fast food places have identity crises on the East Coast.
No, I thought the same thing when I went out west, so it goes two ways, buddy.
It's almost like these two coasts are completely different.
Anyway.
Yeah. So we're going to work on this for our Type 5 at the Comedy Store. No, so basically, we now that Jack and the Beanstalk has some kind of character, like superficial character connection with Royston Jr., because we are taking it quite seriously that Royston himself is in Goldilocks and Little Bear. So
yes,
now we get to the point at which you were beginning your venture into this whole world. So you can you follow it through? Tell me how this works.
Okay. Well, essentially, what do you mean how it works? Royston is in...
Yeah, but how are we able to call this Royston, despite the fact that would be legally troublesome?
Well, okay, Ed Bryan, who may have actually created Royston for all we know. I mean, we don't know who created what on the Banjo team.
It's like a 1 in 3 chance that it was him.
Yeah. If not, he greatly contributed to Royston's development, perhaps.
Yeah.
Well, Ed Bryan he can't say it's Royston because of course he can't, nor should he. But he's basically said as much without saying, it's he walked up to the line he can walk up to, kind of pushed it over.
Yeah,
and
essentially
ran away.
the interaction with him on this was basically he said he posted a picture of the goldfish and said, "Oh, it's a familiar face," something like that. And I said, "Does it have a name? Come on, Ed, just give us a name, oh please." And his response was R something with an R. I can't quite remember.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, it was along those lines. That's not verbatim, but that's effectively what it was.
But here's the thing. Here's the great thing about Royston, the character, and okay, because
there are so many.
We could have a whole season of episodes about Royston. Royston, the Royston Spotlight, Part 17. But to keep it simple, the great thing about Royston in this regard is because the very nature of his character kind of resets from game to game, you could put him in a game like this and it not really affect anything in the Banjo series. It's not like Bovina, where if Rare uses Bovina again, it's hard to describe, but Bovina, her character doesn't necessarily reset like Royston does. So you can do crazy things with him that are outside of a Rare game and it not really influence anything. It's fine.
Yeah, you can, and Royston, he's sort of like the like a very mild mushroom. He goes with everything you could possibly cook. It's like the mushroom isn't overbearing. It's not going to flavor your sauce. It's just there as kind of a textural element, and it absorbs its surroundings. Like Royston,
and that isn't a tortured metaphor because Royston has been cooked twice.
That's right. Yeah, he almost made his way onto a Portobello burger.
So, and you might be saying, well, okay, but Nosy Crow doesn't own Royston, neither does Platonic. How is this official in any capacity? And I think we're just granting it the DK Vine stamp of approval because it is a creator of Royston.
Well, here's my answer to that. It doesn't matter. Because the Donkey Kong universe isn't cared with the laws of we humans that exist on a plane outside this reality. All we're concerned about is the characters and the worlds that they live in. And the legality between the companies that create these characters shouldn't matter. All that should really matter is what's the intention of this creative output. And if the intention is it's Royston, then it's Royston.
I would argue though that because the people behind the game do kind of matter. And
well, they have Word of God.
Word of God, yeah, but I'm saying Ed Bryan has Word of God. Chris Sutherland has Word of God. Greg Mayles has Word of God. You know, so
yeah.
It's if this was just Joe Schmuck making a game and putting a goldfish in, I don't think we could say Royston.
No. But I'm saying, like, because these people have some sort of ownership over these characters, you know, they basically are the minds that originally conjured them, so they have jurisdiction to continue to tell their stories. Right. And it really doesn't matter whether or not they're legally allowed to. What matters is the story they're trying to tell.
But Royston also perfectly skirts these matters. Like, you couldn't put a monkey in a red hat in one of these games and say, it's Diddy. You know? But Royston, he's a goldfish. Who cares? You know what I mean?
Well, we care, but who from a legal standpoint would ever care?
Right, exactly. And I would say Royston, he's small enough, he swims through those cracks just enough that, like, I'm not saying like they could put Banjo in one or a bear and say and hit that it's Banjo. I don't think that would work. But Royston works. He just does. And look, if you don't agree with us, if you don't think Goldilocks and Little Bear should be considered DKU, that's your prerogative. We're not saying we're not trying to force this upon anybody, but from our perspective, yes, it is.
Right. And Royston, by the way, in Goldilocks and Little Bear, he's Little Bear's pet. He's owned by a family of bears. It's not that hard to even consider this. It could be a prequel to the events of Banjo-Kazooie.
We'll get into that. We'll get into that.
Okay, we'll get into some of that. But so that's why we're talking about it.
Yes, but here's my question: Do you think Ed Bryan just went for this based on the Twitter interactions we've had with him?
Oh, I have no idea. Probably not. He probably just is really fond of the characters that he made.
And it's a game full of bears, so he saw an opening and he took it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fantastic. And a lot of I think for a while, I don't know if it still is, his Twitter icon was Little Bear holding a banjo. So it's
we'll get into that banjo as well. So what is the game? Now, this is the game, it should be pointed out, that's for
1 to 3 year olds is what the App Store said.
Seriously, to 3, not even like to 5.
Maybe I'm mistaken, but so I had been playing it on the iPad, but I wanted to get one last refresher in.
I needed it on the big screen.
Right. Well, Janelle typically uses our iPad, so I downloaded it on my phone so that I could play it on the train to and from work today. And when I did that, I'm pretty sure I saw ages 1 to 3, but maybe it's a little older. At any rate, that tells us a lot about the UK educational system if their children are learning how to read at age 1, 2, and 3.
I really hope you're wearing headphones on the train. That's all I'm saying.
I was, actually.
You would have gotten some looks on riding the subway.
There are so many stranger things that I've seen on the subway than a grown man playing a game for 3-year-olds.
So this is the youngest skewing game in the Donkey Kong universe canon. This would basically be the equivalent. If we were a Mario website, it would be like those early Mario education titles. Now,
yeah. Although I would say that this game is less cynical than those.
How are those cynical?
Those
shameless
are
cash-ins?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, yeah. I can see that.
I think those games are less focused on actually educating children than they are selling something with Mario on it.
So here's the thing that I'm fully aware of, and I'm trying to be careful about as we embrace this game and include it as part of our personal canon.
Right.
I know this is a game for little kids, and I don't want to turn this game into something it's not, nor do I want a bunch of weirdos perverting it into something it's not. That's not fair to Nosy Crow. I don't want this. I don't want this. I'm not trying to insult the bronies out there, but I don't want this to turn into a bunch of 30-year-old men celebrating My Little Pony.
I think that might be a slight exaggeration of the sort of power that we wield, but
no. But even in like channels on the internet talking about it, we're going to be the ones talking about it the most vigorously, the most enthusiastically, perhaps.
Well, aside from sites that are targeted toward parents of
Yes,
children.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm mostly talking about social media channels and whatnot.
Sure. Because it is doing quite well, and I'm very happy to see how well it's doing in the App Store.
It is. And if you have young children at home, I know some of you do listening to this, you should download it for them because it is again, you said it's surprisingly not cynical, but it also doesn't really talk down to kids as well. I assume it doesn't. I don't know. It's been a while since I've been a kid. But
so neither of us are parents, and we're both several decades removed from the target demographic.
Right. So we don't want to turn this into something it's not, nor do we want to give it the wrong kind of following and basically tarnish this game for Nosy Crow. So we're merely doing this out of fun and to celebrate the many paths a shared universe can take. And I love that on one end of the spectrum we have Goldilocks and Little Bear. On the other end we have Conker's Bad Fur Day. And they both exist in the same universe. And it's great because in the real universe, yes, you have those wild disparities. You have toddlers and you have alcoholics who curse a lot. It's great.
Absolutely. That's the most pleasing acceptance of violent alcoholics that I've ever heard.
But that's the great thing about a shared universe. A shared universe should be weird and varied like this because the real universe is weird and varied. And I don't like. This is my problem with the Zack Snyder DC universe, cinematic universe. It's that it all looks gray and overly serious and dark and brooding and edgy and you know, you've got to have your fun in there. You've got to have your Guardians of the Galaxy in there.
Hey, Hyle. Now let's be fair. Every now and then he gives a flash of orange amid the cyan.
That's true.
That's a lot of fun to me.
Keeps the scurvy away.
Yeah. So this game is, you know, obviously it takes its leaping off point from Goldilocks and the Three Bears, famous children's story.
Yes,
but. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and that's created some controversy among the DK Vine forum. How can Goldilocks be DKU? That's a story that's been around for since the 1800s. I mean, in some form or fashion. And, well, how is anything? Look, this is a version of Goldilocks, a version of the Three Bears.
Yeah,
but it is not.
But it's completely distinct. By the way, the existence of Little Bear and the Bear family kind of makes this a different Goldilocks in my mind. It's its own story with a character named Goldilocks that's inspired by a fable.
Right. This takes place in contemporary times, judging by the way the humans dress, judging by some of the technology we see. So I would say it takes place in modern times, and it's about a girl named Goldilocks who just so happens to have an experience that greatly mirrors the one of her namesake.
Yeah, you didn't see a lot of bacon pancakes in the 19th century.
Honestly, you never see a lot of bacon pancakes here, and I live in America.
So good. Those bacon pancakes look delicious. Let's talk about the art style a bit, because this is absolutely gorgeous. Then we'll kind of jump into the mechanics of playing the game.
Well, it's a hand-drawn style. And I don't know. I'm not an artist, so it's a lot of I don't know, squiggly lines, but good squiggly lines. They're good.
Yeah, well, they're not quite so squiggly. I think the inspiration for this style. And it's the same one that Ed Bryan has been using in Jack in the Box, the Three Little Pigs. And
Jack in the Box, you did it again.
Jack in the Box again. Jack in the Beanstalk. I don't know why I keep doing that.
Have you seen Krampus by chance?
I have not seen Krampus.
There's an amazing Jack in the Box in Krampus.
Oh yeah, with the predator mouth.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw it in the trailer. I'll see that eventually. I'm sure it's fine. I'm so sick of shared Christmas icon universes.
I know. I liked when Belschnickel showed up at the end to recruit. Krampus.
Yeah. I could have done without Popo Gijo trying to recruit him, though.
And then Black Peter was played by Samuel L. Jackson, which I thought was distasteful.
Yeah. Although the eye patch was a nice touch.
Yeah.
No, the art style is kind of based on paper doll cutouts. And in fact, when they were promoting Goldilocks and Little Bear, they actually made versions of them you could print out yourself and connect the arms and the legs with brads. And it was, Yeah, you know Brad's it's like a gold, kind of a metal thing that has two little feet that you can bend, and you never made these little arts and crafts using Brad's to connect them when you were a kid?
I never made paper dolls, Chad. I'm sorry to say.
Well, not just paper dolls. They were like, I had a dinosaur workbook, and
of course you did.
Yeah, and you can cut out the dinosaurs, and you use Brad's to like connect their legs and arms, and the tail had like 3 moving sections. So then you can.
I think I know what you're talking about. I've never heard them referred to as Brad's before, though. So I learned something new every day here on the Kongversation.
Yeah, but anyway, at any rate, it's like the style is inspired by that. They don't have there's no outlines. It's a strange comparison to make, but in a way, it's South Park-esque. The texture that they have, it's a different visual style, but the way that everything is kind of flattened, but in a 3D space that shares that visual distinction is sort of like South Park. But I love the texture work everywhere, whether it's a polygonal object, and there are some of them, or a flat surface. It's this really cool painterly look. It's very, very nicely textured, and it's
a storybook. It's a storybook, but it's an interactive storybook. So it's a nice blend of styles.
Yeah, I dig it. It's completely distinct visually from Ed Bryant's past work on Grab by the Ghoulies, the Banjo games, and it completely works for this style.
Yeah, absolutely. And should we talk about the actual characters?
Sure, yeah. So, you can play in these parallel adventures as either Goldilocks or Little Bear, which is a nice thing for, boys and girls.
It's a simultaneous adventure. Basically, twist. This is a twist on the classic Goldilocks story. By the way, I never thought these words would be coming out of my mouth on the Kongversation, so forgive me if I trip over them. But it's a nice twist because really, Goldilocks in the classic fairy tale is a bit of a monster. So she is.
How so? It's a story about breaking and entering and wreaking havoc.
Yes, breaking, entering, consuming what's not yours, destroying what's not yours.
That's right.
Being self-entitled and then wearing yourself out to the point where you have to take a nap in somebody else's home. It's ridiculous, but they share the blame in this tale because the little bear happens by coincidence to go through the exact same adventure in Goldilocks' home while Goldilocks is wreaking havoc in their home, and their parents are out looking for them, and eventually their parents get taken to back to their own houses. So
and it's interesting how neatly they were able to do this without really changing much of the story.
They didn't change the story really at all. They just added this. And honestly, I'm shocked this hasn't been done before.
Yeah, because it works so elegantly. Because, the bears leave their house, and there is a baby bear. So what are the bears doing? It like clicks into place so perfectly. And the fact that they came up with this idea of having these parallel adventures by rotating your device is... it's kind of ingenious, to be honest. I love how... Go ahead.
It's a good use of the technology. It's something that Nintendo would never do.
An actual interesting application of what the device can offer. Another thing that they do that I think we talked about previously when Jack and the Beanstalk came out. I got it right that time. They do this really great like vertical kind of camera parallaxy effect when... I don't know if you noticed it, but if you slightly tilt your device up and down, it actually shifts the perspective in the background. So it's like you are raising and lowering your eye level.
Yep, yeah, and that's terrific too. And that's actually something I realized when I was trying to take screenshots of every single still from this game. Which I'm still waiting to upload because I've got about 200 that I'm trying to sift through.
Yeah, I'm glad you're doing this on the iPad, by the way, so we get that sweet Retina resolution.
Yeah, I'm a madman. So I've already uploaded some to the DK Vine website at dkvine.com. So Wow. Anyway, so yeah, that's a great touch, and it's completely unnecessary, but it's also it helps you remember. Oh, I can completely subvert the story by flipping my device, even though it constantly reminds you of that as well.
Yeah, and in a subtle way, it also I like that it would a kid of that age is probably going to be in some ways familiar with Goldilocks and the Three Little Bears.
Oh yeah,
I like that what this would force that child to do is consider that there's a side of the story that's going on that they might not have been aware of.
My big thing right now is that we don't teach kids critical thinking. We teach them and encourage them to continue seeing things in black and white. So what I like about this is from an early age it says not everything is as it seems. Let's see what the other side is experiencing.
Yeah. And the lesson learned.
It's the anti-Trump.
Right. Let that be. This Goldilocks is a much better orange-haired representative for all of us than Donald Trump. And the lesson that's learned in the end, and I guess we'll kind of go through the narrative, or at least
people
the
are
version
shocked
of the
that we're not being more cynical about this. By the way, I can hear heads exploding.
But it's not for us, is it?
It's not. And I'm not cynical by nature. I abhor cynicism. That's why I genuinely loved Star Wars, and I don't hold anything against it. It was great. I think as a culture we are trained. It's cool to be cynical, and it's something that we all experience. But we either grow out of it or you just cling onto it. And I think I've grown out of cynicism completely. So I can come back around.
Which isn't to say...
Conker's Bad Fur Day came out at just the right time in my life.
Right.
And Goldilocks has come out at just the right time in my life. Perfect for a 32-year-old man.
Well, if you had a 32-year-old... If you were a 32-year-old man with a child aged 1 to 3, it would have been pitch perfect. But...
Yes.
At any rate, no, I think that, while I agree with you on cynicism, that doesn't mean that criticism is null and void.
No.
But honestly, this game is what it sets out to do. It does so well. It's a fantastic game.
Yeah,
I would never recommend it to any of our listeners that our typical audience, unless you either want to experience some fantastic artwork, some very competently coded, game design and visuals, and a great soundtrack by Steve Hurst, but it's not like you're probably going to get a lot out of the game itself, other than those disparate elements.
Unless you're Donkey Kong Universe obsessive like we are, and then you're going to get a little bit out of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's don't, if you're listening to this, by all means, download it. It's only $4.99. I think $4.99. Yeah, on the App Store.
Something like that.
Yeah, and check it out for the art of Ed Bryan. Check it out for Royston. Check it out for check it out for the great soundtrack in it. But don't judge it as you would judge Banjo-Kazooie. That's not what it is.
No, exactly. I mean, and this was my thing about like Grunny's Revenge when people were comparing that to Banjo-Kazooie. I was like, no, don't compare it to a console Banjo-Kazooie. This is the exact same thing. Don't compare this to anything we've ever had before in the Donkey Kong universe. Just look at this for what it is, and for what it is fantastic.
Yeah, it achieves every single one of its stated goals spectacularly.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Let's talk about the characters.
Sure.
The plot, I don't think we need to really go into that much.
Right. Should be old hat by now.
So we'll start with the humans. You've got Goldilocks, who is... She's a modern girl living in the modern world, but she possesses many of the same traits as the classic fairy tale character. She's curious, maybe a little bit impatient, maybe a little bit impulsive.
Precocious.
Yes. Well, precocious, but she doesn't have any self-awareness. So she lives in the forest, and we'll get into briefly what Mamie Forest this is. With her family, her father and her mother. Yeah. Her father loves living in the forest. Her mother seems to enjoy it too.
I'm judging by her father's garb, he may be a lumberjack.
It looks like he cuts down trees. Yes, definitely. He's got the arms for it at least. and he's got the hair of Robin Beanland, so maybe maybe some influence there. But they also love pancakes. They love pancakes.
Yeah, or at least on this one random morning, they decided to make pancakes.
They decided to make pancakes, but they seem to be quite terrible at making them because they made them so absurdly hot that they have to go out for a walk to let them cool down.
I wish I had their pancake cooking technique, because every time I make pancakes, like my skillet's decent size, but you still have to do it in batches. So by the time the last batch is coming out, the first ones are basically room temperature. I would love to have 2 hot pancakes that aren't burned.
I assume they achieve fusion with these pancakes because they split some atoms because these are so hot. And the great thing about this game, I guess, is that you can feed the characters food. So
that is pretty awesome.
So despite the fact that these pancakes are too hot for them to eat, you can shove it in their face.
And every time let's talk about the voice acting, by the way, because it's fully voice acted. They're
British.
Well, they're all British, but I think the narrator is an adult woman, but almost all the other characters appear to be children, and it's adorable.
It's like Diddy Kong Racing.
It's like, but Diddy Kong Racing was just, you know, I'm Diddy, haha. You know, it wasn't really voice acting. Whereas on this one, Goldilocks' dad, it sounds like it's done by a 5-year-old boy, and it's just so cute. I'm not a parent, but it hits me in that part of me that might one day be a parent. Like, that's just adorable.
I hope my 5-year-old looks like Goldilocks' father.
That's a man's man.
I hope he's suffering from Jack syndrome.
Facial hair, yeah. No, but it's the cutest thing. And ditto, when you flip the game over, Little Bear himself has a family.
Yes, and they also speak English, and so these bears are quite canonical with the bears we know in the Donkey Kong universe. They actually remind me of the Brothers Bear quite a bit in their design. Now, granted, there's only so many bear designs you can do before they're going to start seeming similar, but
And what is it that the bears are doing at breakfast time? What were they eating? I can't remember.
Oh, you played it.
It was porridge. Porridge,
yes. The classic. I mean, the pancakes were invented for the story, but the porridge is...
Everything in the human's house is brand new, but it does follow the traditional. That's correct.
Yes. So anyway, but if you start with the humans, as per tradition dictates, then they go out for a walk to let their pancakes cool, and they explore the forest collecting berries for their pancakes. And this is something you can put the berries in the baskets, or you can shove them in their mouth.
Yeah, you can keep feeding all your hard-earned berries to your mother and father, and but the characters will keep telling you, like, we've got to put berries in the baskets.
Which this does raise the continuity question. They seem to be, I don't know, addressing you quite a bit.
Or maybe they're just talking out loud.
Maybe they are, but
psyching themselves up, because they never explicitly.
Yes, occasionally Goldilocks says, like, "Can you help put me up on this chair?" Oh,
does she?
Yes. So I'm wondering if maybe the Goldilocks family are friends of you, the character you from off of It's Mr. Pants and various other adventures,
or maybe her house is haunted. And, and she's just asking if the ghost and we happen to be, there at the time, so we can give her a lift, but she was expecting a ghost to do it.
I don't know. But anyway, so the forest segment is also amusing in that the characters just randomly start dancing when they're happy.
Yeah. They're in the forest, and it looks beautiful and lush and has a fantastic soundtrack to it. So why wouldn't you want to do a little jig?
Now, there's at a certain point, Goldilocks and Little Bear get separated from their families.
Yeah.
And at that point, they're introduced to, I don't know, devil's advocate characters, the true villains of the story, I would say.
Ooh, yes.
For Goldilocks, it's a butterfly.
Yeah. And Little Bear, it's a B. And as I was playing, I wasn't following the directions of when I should flip the game over, which I probably should have been. So I was introduced to Goldilocks as Butterfly, and then I did a mission or two and flipped it over. It's not Grand Theft Auto, but I'm going to call it a mission. I flipped it over after getting Trevor his sack full of Coke. All of a sudden, Little Bear had a bee following him, and I didn't know what had happened. So thankfully, the game lets you very easily skip back and forth to different scenes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not really achievement based. It is an educational game for toddlers. So it's even the part that does kind of play like a game. You don't have to do anything, and you'll still succeed. But
yes, it's educational. It'll teach you never to trust an insect because they will lead you to a path of ruin.
Yeah, they're kind of like the devil on their shoulder, and it's up to the children's conscience to be the good voice, but there is no real good voice in this, is there?
No. And so I like that they kind of absolve Goldilocks and Little Bear of some of their more abhorrent behavior. Mm-hmm. That they're merely children with an awful influence, with I guess an anarchist on their side who just wants to see them watch the world burn, or I don't know. It's amusing. I like that the Butterfly and the Bee are now, I consider them true villains in the Donkey Kong universe alongside K. Rool and Gruntilda and the like. Yeah.
And their true stripes, literally in the case of the Bee, will be seen at the very end of this game.
Oh yes. Okay. So anyway, so you go into the house and you basically repeat the beats of the Goldilocks story.
Right.
Oh, porridge. Oh, this is too hot. This is too cold.
Yeah. And I don't know how to keep stuffing it into your character's face as much as you want.
How do they cool at different speeds?
Well, different sizes would. Wait, what do you mean? How does what cool at different speeds?
The porridge. If the porridge is all too hot when the bears leave, how is it then? One's still very hot. One's
because
very cold.
It's a different volume. So it would naturally cool at a different speed.
Okay. Should we bring in some scientists to fact check this game?
Yes, we can. We've got Neil deGrasse Tyson on standby. He is an astrophysicist, so he wouldn't be able to help us with porridge physics, but he's a podcast-friendly physicist of some report. So
yeah, we need a food scientist. I'm sure maybe Alton Brown. He's not a scientist, but he knows a lot about food science. Bring him in.
Yeah, lately I've been watching this thing called America's Test Kitchen on PBS, and I forget the name of the guy because he doesn't have much of a personality because it's a PBS show, but he's very good.
He's very good, despite being a complete block of wood. Yes. Anyway.
Yeah. Look, Hyle, I watch it for the cutlery corner, okay?
I have no idea what you're referencing right now.
I'm referencing America's Test Kitchen.
I know, but I don't know. Okay. Like that reference does not elicit laughter from me because I don't know what the cutlery corner is.
I promise it's hilarious.
All right. So the nice thing about these segments, though, is you can actually make a mess. Like you basically feed, like, let's say the porridge to Goldilocks, and you can splash it around the table. And just you can make an ungodly mess. And
she also, by the way, Goldilocks and Little Bear both are tracking mud throughout the entire house, and you can make the footprints as you move them along. It's a game again for 3-year-olds tops, and there's all these little visual flourishes that it's just there's so much care put into it.
Since I'm doing captions for the screenshots, I have been very careful but tempted all the same. Sometimes the mud doesn't look like mud, let's just say.
Oh, jeez.
There's moments where I could make comments, but I won't, out of respect to the Bryans.
Yeah.
And Nosy Crow.
Let's not Google bomb Goldilocks and Little Bear.
Rick Santorum loves this game.
Yeah. So moving on from finding the porridge or the pancakes that are just right. What's the next thing? Goldilocks then moves on because it's not the beds next, is it?
The chairs. It's the chairs.
Yeah.
Because she needs to sit down because she just ate, and you're tired after you eat a big feast, right?
Yeah, she's getting up there in years. She's not a spring chicken anymore.
No. I mean, by Hollywood standards, she's already over the hill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not even fit to play Rey from off of Star Wars.
No, spoiler. We know Rey's a character now.
Too old to begin the role.
Anyway, so she said, this one's too hard. This one's is too soft, because that doesn't seem like it would be a thing, but okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then one's just right, or maybe it's too big, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
She has a spinal thing. It's like she's got this neck thing.
Yeah.
So it's been bothering her for a couple weeks. She doesn't want a soft chair. It's
hard. It's hard to find proper Gonstead treatments in the forest.
Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I understand. It's also hard doing your chair shopping while you're a bear.
Chair chopping.
Mm-hmm. That's actually the occupation of Goldilocks' father.
Chair chopping. Yeah, he frequents Cher's dojo and often gets it. I don't know what I'm talking about.
What are you doing? Wait,
chair chopping. If you
Cher's
chop
dojo.
If you karate chop Cher, you would be Cher chopping.
I suppose so. I was thinking it was kind of like sharecropping, but with chopping things.
Okay, no, I was thinking Cher. I was trying to turn back time.
Yeah, clearly. So, yeah, then what's Little Bear doing? He's trying on clothes.
Yes. Fashion show.
Yeah, and this was fun because some of the clothes I couldn't figure out how to take off of him. So at some point, because he's trying both the father's clothes.
Chris Hansen wants you to have a seat just right over there.
At some point, I got a Little Bear wearing a feather boa and a pirate hat, but I didn't know how to take off any of it, and it's great. It's like a little kid who is. It is just running rampant in a place,
I like how the Goldilocks family apparently likes to dress as Hulk Hogan in their spare time.
Yeah, like his feather boa's brother. What was it that he said about the dad's clothes? They're too itchy, or it was some perfect word for meaning scratchy. Like the flannel is really scratchy, but I can't remember what the word was.
I don't remember, unfortunately, but
yeah,
it is a good sentiment, because when I was a kid, I could not wear so many clothes because I would just find them itchy and uncomfortable.
Yeah, the mom's clothes are too fancy, and but that didn't make him take off the feather boa. He loved it. No. And then Goldilocks' clothes are just right.
Which, yeah, I mean, that's more power to Little Bear. He's finding out things about him at an early age.
Yeah, I enjoy it, and the kid playing dress up, and it's fun to just try and put all the crazy stuff on him, and it's enjoyable.
It is. Well, then they go into Goldilocks goes into the bedrooms, and apparently the Bear family, they all share a bedroom and separate beds. I Love Lucy style.
Yes. I was gonna say I was gonna go Rob and Laura Petrie, but same thing. Yeah.
Yes. So you've got the mama bed and the daddy bed, and then the Goldilocks bed, and this is where we get our Donkey Kong universe connections.
Oh baby.
Oh yeah. So, not only is Royston there, and by the way, this is a tapping goldfish. He is not just a static goldfish, but he does tap on the side of the bowl.
Yes. Oh, and by the way, did you notice this? You can also tap on the bowl, and it makes a noise.
I tried to do that immediately, yes.
Yeah, and it's there's not that many other items in the game that have a specific noise that they'll trigger, but tapping on the bowl, it gives you something back, and it's so obvious that they kind of want to draw attention to it without drawing attention to it.
I mean, it's a goldfish. I mean, you can't really say much,
No, I know, but the fact that you can interact with it, more than most things in the game is kind of cool.
Yes. There's also a couple of other references in this area. There are pictures on the wall, and hand-drawn pictures, presumably by Little Bear. Yeah. One of them is of a bear and a bird, and they're hand drawn pictures, so they're not high fidelity, not artistically sound, but the clear impression I got is it was supposed to be Banjo and Kazooie,
and the bird is behind the bear's head, like positioned where Kazooie would be.
Yes. So, and by the way, there's also a banjo alongside the bed. Mm-hmm. So, here's what I take from this.
Okay.
And you at home might disagree, Chad. You might disagree as well. But this is where I'm standing.
Right.
The Bear family, the Little Bear family, they are friends or relatives of Banjo.
Okay.
And at some point, Banjo gave Little Bear a gift of a banjo, and even his fish Royston. Or maybe Little Bear just stole Royston, or Royston begged to be stolen to get out of Banjo's house.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it's impossible that Little Bear could be Banjo?
I know you're going to bring that up. The thing is, Banjo, one of his defining traits is the Southern drawl, the American Southern drawl.
Yep.
And he's quite clearly British here, and I think it's a leap too far. And it's what I said about if you put a monkey in this game and said it was Diddy. I think it's a bit too much to say it was Banjo, who's Rare's most recognizable IP at this point. I mean, I admire the gusto that it would take to consider this a prequel, but I think it's just a associate of Banjo.
Yeah, I agree. It's not like you start Banjo-Kazooie saying, "Oh, hello, Mr. Mole. Would you be able to teach me some moves?"
Let me just take this swig of moonshine, and then I'm going to talk like this.
Right? Yeah, that could be it. It's like pre and post moonshine Banjo. No, but I agree with you. The voice is really what clinches it for me as well, and the fact that this bear family are nudists, and and all the other bears that we've seen wear at least a garment of clothing.
Yeah, they're nudists, but clearly Little Bear wants to. He's attracted to the idea of clothing. So
that's true. They're kind of playing at being humans, even if they haven't nailed the dress part of it.
Well, when the Bear family comes in to their home, the father bear says he's going to gobble up whoever's been intruding their home.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, so I guess like most bears, they're omnivorous because they were eating berries before.
But God, we never had one of the brothers bear threaten to eat Dixie or Kitty.
Should have happened.
That was shocking to me anyway.
Yeah. By the way, before we get into them bursting in, Little Bear's version of falling asleep was sitting down to read a book.
Aww.
Yeah. I really liked it. And the book that he picked out was The Three Little Pigs, which I don't know if I'm not sure if there was an app companion, but it was certainly a physical book. And it looks like the art was Ed Bryan. So
yeah, that's nice. Yeah.
Yeah. May also have been a Bryan Brothers joint, but at least Ed, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So eventually the parents return to their homes, sans children, and they find the other child invading their home.
Yeah.
And,
in one of the rooms, by the way, did you notice in the humans world, we got some hand-drawn little portraits of presumably other people in their family or friends, but there was also artwork from Alice in Wonderland on the wall.
Yeah, that was in the bear home too. There was artwork from Mamie Jack and the Beanstalk, I want to say. Yeah,
but this was like old school. I don't know if first edition, but like black and white. Pen drawings of Alice at the tea party with the White Rabbit and the Mad Hatter. It looked like it was taken straight out of like an original Lewis Carroll printing of the book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was interesting. And then, the mirrors. Those are awesome.
Okay, yeah, you can see yourself in the mirrors.
Yeah, and if you click on the butterfly or the bee, they're like, who's that up there in the mirror?
Which, by the way, when I was playing this the first time, it was like late at night, like 2 a.m., and I was all disheveled, and I looked horrible. And I was just like, I saw myself being reflected back in that mirror, and I was like, This is the state my life is at right now.
I hope you took a screenshot of that moment.
I didn't, but I will go back and I will take a screenshot. That's why I think you is a character in this game.
And you're exactly right. That has to be it. So here's what I think you were doing in that case. You are a family friend of both the bears and the people, but you've never told either of them about the other. Right. And they basically let you watch after Goldilocks or Little Bear to keep them out of trouble. So you're following them along, and you're very bad at keeping them out of trouble.
I'm completely on board with this.
Yeah.
Because okay, my theory about where this takes place, by the way, it's the Northern Hemisphere.
Okay. I knew that was coming.
Yeah.
Where in the Northern Hemisphere? Is this a Razor Ridge kind of thing?
No,
Cremwood Forest?
Cremwood Forest.
Okay. I can see that.
Yeah, because it's a place where bears live. Now, what's Goldilocks' family doing there? Maybe they the parents met on that cruise ship that brought over Mario and Pauline and whatnot, and they settled in the Northern Hemisphere, and they had they built a home and had a child there, and they're outliers, but they're still residents. And
you want to know an interesting theory? Speaking of that cruise ship, before we were able to say that Little Bear was not Banjo, I was kind of thinking about if he were Banjo, how would this connect to it all, and what does the existence of these humans mean? And it would have been so funny for Goldilocks to wind up being Melanie from the end of Banjo-Kazooie.
Right.
Yeah, just like if this were a prequel, then it would have happened when Banjo was younger and when Melanie was younger.
Who knows? Maybe Melanie is her older sister. I don't know.
Yeah, could be. although I guess it's her older sister who hates pancakes and who hates sitting.
By the way, I love that Goldilocks. I love that it's a mixed race family, and it's never brought up, of course, nor should it be. But
yeah.
I like Goldilocks.
That is nice to see. Yeah,
I love that Goldilocks. She isn't just a white girl. She's got blonde hair, but she's not.
She has a little bit of a darker complexion. Yeah, her mom is clearly not white. So it is nice that it's just unremarked upon.
Yes. It was. Yeah, I didn't even realize it my first playthrough. It was only when I went back in preparation for this episode that it even dawned on me. Yeah.
So. Okay, let's get into the confrontation.
Oh my god, I'll let you take it because I'm enjoying this. I'm gonna get my popcorn.
Well, the respective parents come home, and someone's been eating our porridge, and someone's been playing with our clothing, and someone's reading our books, and there they are. It's essentially what you expect. Although I do like that throughout these sequences. There is kind of a dialogue that plays out, and it prompts you to touch certain characters, either Goldilocks, the butterfly, one of the parents, to hear the next line in the sequence. But at any point, you can touch any character and hear like a running monologue, like internal monologue of what they're thinking in that moment. Yes. So you could just like create this cacophony of everyone's thoughts about what's happening.
I like how non-linear it is. Like even the nature of the flip book style, where you can see the other events happening at the same time. But I like how each character you can have just dialogue going on. It's all very much. It allows you or your child to kind of just see the action from any angle. It's good. It's nice.
Totally.
It's actually a storybook that's used well in this medium. I mean, it actually justifies its existence as an app.
Yeah, absolutely. So finally, you hit the next character's dialogue enough times. Goldilocks flees, Little Bear flees, and this is the section that I was mentioning that is sort of more like a traditional game. You're being pursued by the parents, and through the woods, and there are logs in the way, so you have to kind of flick your character up to jump over the logs.
Yes. Yeah, it's unexpected action in this game. Like
right.
I wasn't expecting. I mean, this was kind of intense after what we just got, you know? Like, it was just a nice leisurely storybook until now. Now it's like run for your life.
Yeah.
It's run, Ramby, run.
I did test it, and it is optional. You can just stumble through all the logs, and you'll still get to the next scene. But that's okay. It's not like you're going to put a fail state in a game for 1 to 3 year olds.
You should teach them hard lessons at an early age.
Yeah, Uncle Tusk will grind them into a paste. No, but one thing that I love is, so while Goldilocks is running to the left, Little Bear is running through the woods to the right. They're both being pursued by each other's parents, and when they collide, there's in Steve Burke's music, there's a little bit of a Teddy Bear's Picnic motif. But of course, if you're playing it as a Banjo fan, it sounds like it's, dun 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 dun. It sounds like a Gruntilda's Lair reference, but of course it's Teddy Bear's Picnic. That's definitely intentional.
Yeah, I mean, Grunny's Lair. Well, I mean, Grunny's Lair was the first time I ever heard the Teddy Bear's Picnic song. I didn't know about Teddy Bear's Picnic until years after.
I think I had heard it in an Animaniacs. No, like a Tiny Toons episode at some point.
Oh, really? Well, I didn't remember that Tiny Toons episode by the time I got to Banjo-Kazooie. So, yeah. Anyway,
but yeah, it's nice that. And it's very, it's not even really like the whole melody or even a verse of Teddy Bear's Picnic. It's just a few notes. But if you know Banjo inside and out, you'll key into it immediately.
Right. Yeah, there's lots of nice little nods here, and I could tell they probably had fun putting them in,
Right, yeah. So then it's a mess. Like, all the characters are on the screen at once, and it's another one of those where you can like tap everyone. You've got both sets of parents, Goldilocks, Little Bear, the bee, and the butterfly, and they all have something different running through their head. But yeah, you kind of tap them to get the story to continue.
Right, and I would obsessively tap each character. Like, I would need to see every line of dialogue from them.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, it was.
You want to wring out all that delicious content.
Yes, I'm a continuity hound. I need to know exactly everything that could possibly happen.
Right. So at the end, they decide, hey, we're not that different after all. We're so glad that we found our child. Everyone's fine. Misunderstandings, and Goldilocks and Little Bear get to play. And
then they murder the butterfly and bee.
No, this is the moment at which I was a little surprised, because the bee and the butterfly have sort of been egging you on throughout the story. But then if you talk to the bee while they're, eventually Little Bear and Goldilocks have a picnic, and you can feed them cheese and milk, and then they'll play hide and seek if you tap on them. But if you tap on the bee, he says, "It's all your fault, And the bee, by the way, as I said, it sounded like, some of the male voices, like Little Bear and Goldilocks' dad, were done by a 5, 6, 7-year-old boy. The bee sounds so young. It sounds like it's maybe a 4-year-old, and it's the cutest voice blaming you for everything that happened in the game.
Yeah, I would like to see them spin these characters out, the butterfly and the bee. I would play a whole series of games about these characters, because I find them endlessly fascinating. Why do these two insects just want to wreak havoc among like the world of mammals?
Well, thankfully they are now DKU characters, so if they show up again in a Nosy Crow game, I would love for the butterfly. You asked for it. You can't. No take backsies.
No. I would be okay. I would be okay with this.
I want the butterfly and or the bee to become Nosy Crow's Royston.
But here's the thing: Nosy Crow owns the butterfly and the bee, so they can just. Yeah. I want names for these characters too, Ed Bryan. If you're listening, I want names for them.
Yeah, I'll ask him on Twitter. We need names for the butterfly and the bee.
Because they are your characters. Database. They are your characters, yes. I'm not even asking for names for Goldilocks' parents or Little Bear's parents. That's a bridge too far. But the butterfly and the bee.
That'd be nice, though, by the way.
It would be nice.
If it's not too much to ask.
But, I mean, this is the season where you're supposed to give and not receive. So
right. So we'll just receive 2 names instead of 6.
But yes, anyway, I don't really have any more thoughts about this. I love that this exists. I love that it's part of the DKU. It's just one of those great juxtapositions that we have this game for toddlers in our collective canon now, and it's terrific.
Yeah, it's exactly what you want. If you were buying a game for your child, it's like the best quality product that you could get. There's so much love, care. There's no bugs. There's no crashes. There's no
bugs.
Oh yes, that's true. There are there are no issues with the code of the thing. Good job, Will.
Actually, it crashed on me once.
Did
I had
it really?
to reinstall it. Yes.
Oh, that never happened to me.
Yeah, but I think that's because I was obsessively taking screenshots, and I kept exiting the game by accident and re-entering, and I pushed it too far, I think.
Oh, that happens to me too, because like you have to hold down the button and hit the on button on the iOS device. Yeah, that's finicky. I feel like that's more of an iOS 9 issue than a Goldilocks and Little Bear issue.
I know. I'm just saying, if you're gonna try to obsessively take every image from the game as a screenshot, then you might run into that small bug, but you can just reinstall, and it's not like there's save states, so you don't lose anything. So,
yeah. Oh well, actually, there is a resume state.
Yes, I know, but it's not like your progress is being saved as far as like a total score or anything.
There's no 100%ing this,
and you can always jump ahead. It's not like you have to go back and repeat the same thing again.
It's like a book. It's like a book. You can open a book to any page.
Exactly. So,
yeah. But yeah, it's such a high quality product for an audience that may not necessarily appreciate the craft that goes into it, although they will enjoy it immensely. So if you're a fan of the artists who do the art, do the coding, and this is a very visually very well developed game. We focused on Steve and Ed's contributions more than Will Bryan, but there are some really cool uses of the iOS hardware in this title that I've never seen an app that puts my picture in a mirror on the wall. Like that's kind of cool.
It's the Rare DNA, man. They take what they're given and they push it. They make the most out of it. So
yeah,
gotta love it.
Don't if you do check it out. I would say check it out to appreciate the disparate pieces of artwork that are in the title and to support people who have given you fantastic games over the years.
Unless you have kids of the appropriate age, and then absolutely get it for them.
Totally. I just wanted to tell people, don't go into it expecting the kind of experience that you would get from a game for adults.
No. I mean, that's ridiculous. So yeah, if you're a cold, cynical, asshole, then this game is not for you.
Keep it clean. Keep it clean, Russ.
Butthole.
This has been a File 2 production.